Hi, Mark. Welcome around the workstand.
Hello, Susie. How are you this week?
I'm doing pretty well. We got a lot going on here.
We do.
Yeah,
It's busy,
yeah.
busy, busy.
It is busy. We're rolling into the holidays. And I think speaking of, I think between lots of marketing stuff going on, people planning for 2025,
Hmm.
we have a little different topic to
That
talk
could
about
perhaps
today.
help in some areas when you're very, very busy.
Yes, I
Yeah.
hope so.
And that topic is
Leveraging AI.
AI, artificial intelligence.
Whoa, what a wild world we're living in.
Yeah. Well, it's showing up in a lot of places.
It really is. I mean, I think anyone who, whether you use social media personally or for your business, or you're using different, maybe like Mailchimp, other email platforms, you're probably seeing some of those AI tools.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we want to
So,
encourage you to use them, but
or
also
not.
maybe or not. Maybe there's some guidelines. We have some tips and tricks for you.
Yeah. Because I think, like any new technology, it can be overused or used
Hmm.
in a way that maybe results in some unintended consequences. And we are by no means experts. I think the reason I like to talk about it, you can speak for yourself, is that we're struggling to try and find ways to use, not struggling, but we're looking for ways to use AI
Yeah.
that help us do things like simple things within the CRM we use. It can summarize conversations. It can give us a quick glance at the person we're about to talk to. It's a lot of ways we can use it. So let's talk about some of those maybe do's and don'ts or ways that we see some of our clients using it successfully, and maybe some that we question a bit or could be potential pitfalls.
Yeah. Should we start with the do's and the maybe
Always
the
start with the positives.
okay. A little is that what you refer to as like a is that a compliment sandwich? What do we call those things?
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Good, not good,
Good.
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 Yeah.
Mark, you are great, but okay. So, good things. First of all, we want to encourage you to experiment, try some things,
Yeah.
test it out. I really love it. It's kind of like a brainstorming partner.
Yeah. And I think let's give some examples of that. So maybe you want to do what? Maybe you want to write an article or write a blog post or write an email, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, anything. I love it for maybe individual projects. I find it really helpful sometimes for big projects. I tend to get, maybe you have like a big event coming up, you're planning a sale and you obviously want it to be super successful and you're trying to look at it from every angle with your marketing and planning. That can be kind of overwhelming as when you're
Hmm.
kind of looking at the big picture. So I love to try to throw some questions at some of the AI tools to help just kind of like pick the first right action.
Yeah, and if you haven't done any of that, let's define a few. The AI tools are things
Mm.
like Chat GPT.
Hmm.
They can also be tools within other tools, like you mentioned
Yes.
Mailchimp. And you say throw some ideas at it. That's what the AI people would call a prompt. What do you ask or what are you searching for, so to speak?
Hmm.
So how would you do that for, let's say you happen to be planning marketing for Workstand and
Hmm.
it's something a little different, or maybe we're talking about something we don't talk about all the time. How would you prompt the AI to give you back something that might be a brainstorm assistant?
Yeah, I try to identify a clear goal. So I want a clear outcome. I always give it some, and once you have an account, it can kind of like learn a little bit about you. But when you're getting started,
Mhm.
I always prompt with who we are. I think that's very specific. You want to be like, just throw it out there as being like, oh, I'm looking to run a sale, how to help. Like, I'm a bike shop looking to run a sale to do X, Y, and Z, offering X, Y, and Z.
So give
Um,
the specifics of what you are and what you know,
yeah.
and a very clear, I'm a bike shop. I'm doing this.
Hmm.
Do this. Give me this thing. Give me this result.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I think that's another part of the experiment is you can refine it. I asked maybe I started with something too broad when I was getting comfortable with AI, and then I had to kind of narrow it down. So
Mhm.
just kind of get in there and play with it. I think that's
Yeah, I think that process is actually valuable too. I started too broad and I had to narrow it down, but that
hmm
still got you started.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the benefits of these kinds of tools.
Hmm.
It's a way to say, well, this is what I've got, and this is what I want to get to, and give it whatever you got at first, and then
Yeah.
refine it. It's not
Hmm.
set in stone. One of the beauties of this is how rapidly you can iterate on something. So use it for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we talked maybe a little bit about a bigger projects. What about maybe small projects?
I think a good way to start. I just got a new phone. I got a new iPhone 16 Pro, and it has Apple Intelligence in it, which is Apple's AI assistant kind of thing, building off of what Siri was. Start with something like that. You
Mm-hmm.
write a text to somebody, and then just to learn before you send the text, ask the AI, ask Apple Intelligence or whatever. I'm sure there's an Android version of it, Gemini or whatever.
Yes.
Ask it to make that more professional or more playful or more humorous and
Mm-hmm.
see what you get back from that and see if there's anything in there. Because frankly, when I do those things, I don't find the result acceptable in its entirety. I will find parts of it that I go, ooh, I wish I'd said it that way. But
Yeah.
I would never, at least not yet, I would not let that go unchecked. I'm not,
Hmm.
I will go, oh, it's okay. And then I'll put it back and then I'll maybe add part of it. So I think it's a great first step because there's really no downside to it. There's no high cost or stress moment. Just see what it would make out of what you gave it.
Yeah. I love that. I love the idea of kind of altering the voice, the tone.
Yes.
Maybe experiment with like, I want to write an email from the perspective of my service manager, or maybe something like that. Just see what happens. I think that's
Yeah.
kind of a fun idea.
It's funny. That's the Apple commercial. One of the commercials for intelligence is the
Oh yeah.
goofy guy in the office writes the email to his boss and he says, hey, this project needs a little zhushing. Holler back. And then
Holla.
that's not, so he goes, make it professional. And then the boss reads it and he goes, Warren wrote this? There's no way Warren wrote this.
Because it
So
doesn't say holla back at me.
it doesn't say holla back. But that's a good example of read the results and is it
Yeah.
on brand or not? But B, it is a way to make progress on something
Hmm.
outside of the norm. We all get in ruts. So I think one of the benefits of this technology is being able to help yourself out of a rut if you're doing
Yeah.
repetitive tasks.
Yeah. So you talked about your phone. I love the idea of experimenting with AI within the tools and applications that you're already familiar with.
Yeah.
So maybe you are writing and putting an email together in MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever it is that you use, and they have an AI prompt. And I feel like sometimes you write it, you're like, I know it's about the sale. I don't have another way to say that there's bikes on sale. Experiment it with just like a
Yeah.
quick little subject line. Maybe there's just a piece of something that you like that'll help kind of just, get you thinking about something
I
different.
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Good, easy steps. So that's a few things that we do that we
Yeah.
think other folks could do that could help a
Hmm.
situation. What are the things that we've seen that maybe you want to be? We talked about a few, but you want to be a little careful
Yeah.
about letting this technology run
Hmm.
unchecked.
I don't love some AI generated imagery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as we've seen, I think we've all seen some fun examples. We could experiment with us on your own time, just for entertainment purposes. But I don't think AI understands bicycles real well.
It does not seem to know what parts belong where and what those
Nope.
parts do.
Yeah, like you gotta. I mean, sometimes you get crank arms in weird places. You get the drivetrain not quite right.
Mm-mm.
No.
Spokes. It doesn't seem to know a lot about spokes on wheels.
No, I
Uh,
think between maybe some lifestyle images from the brands you carry, there's lots of other images online that you can either pay for, or there's some that you can utilize without a license, like on Unsplash, I think is an example.
and look, I get it that
But
everybody can't hire a photographer. Everybody doesn't want to use images other people are using. But I think it pays to be aware that some of your market as a bike shop are enthusiast cyclists, to be sure. We tend to be critical about those things. We want to go shop at a business that understands what we're doing, and sometimes those images do not portray the understanding of bicycles in general. So there's a danger to that, professional danger, I think,
yeah,
to letting
I
that
agree.
loose. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a it kind of lacks authenticity, which I think also lends to um I also don't I'm saying this from my own personal perspective, but I think
Hmm.
it kind of stands. I've heard this from other members of our teams. Human AI generated imagery is there's a little bit of like a little bit of a weirdness to those faces.
You can generally tell. Now, again, I feel like I'm going into devil's advocate mode,
No.
but again, perhaps your market, maybe that email you're sending is aimed at a younger generation or a particular demographic of cycling that's all about those. And maybe that's big in their culture is used. Maybe it's just right.
Hmm.
But just understand that most people, and if you're honest with yourself, you can look at that image too. Most people know that's not a real image. It hasn't gotten quite that good yet.
Yeah, there's quite the range as we've seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, the uncanny valley, it gives you that little bit of there's a little bit of weirdness there.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Yeah. Malcolm Gladwell called that in his book called Blink. You don't know
Mm,
why it's wrong. You just know it's wrong.
yep.
And you know it innately and immediately. So
That's
be,
how
yeah,
sorry.
but be careful with that because everything we do is representing our business.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have to be a little bit aware of those things.
Yeah. Speaking of, I think we said authenticity. That's a hard word to get out of my mouth apparently right now. Sorry, I'm like 3 cups of coffee in and I haven't had breakfast yet. Just a little bit about me.
It's unlike you not to have had lots of snacks already. I mean, it's almost
I
10 o'clock in the
start
morning.
I start myself slow in the morning on the snack front. But anyway, don't forget to edit. I think we have talked about using
Yeah.
AI for maybe some bigger projects, especially writing projects, I think can be really helpful to utilize some of those tools to help get you going. Um, but you got to make sure that the voice is correct. It's specific to you and your business and your industry and your voice. We talked about voice. AI tends to be quite long-winded as I ramble
Yes.
on.
Which for some of us, that's our voice.
I know that is.
Not either of us,
Never, never.
but that's a really good point. You spend a lot of time building a business. It has a personality and it presents that, and that's a big part of why the business is successful often. And remember, if you prompt an AI to give you a bunch of words, anybody else could have prompted the AI to get pretty much those same words because that's all it's
Yeah.
doing. It's an aggregator. It's not really creating anything. It's aggregating mountains of data from around the world.
Hmm.
Is that what you want to present? You spend all this time building a unique business, building relationships based upon the way you look at cycling and the cycling world. You don't really want to inject the average of all over the rest of the world into that business. So be aware of that as you
Hmm.
think about that injecting personality and your unique voice and editing it. Think about it from that perspective. You don't really want to have done all that work and then simply let the average be what you present to the world.
That's a great point, and I think one more piece I think to build off of that, especially if you're looking at leveraging AI to help with some blog posts. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of a good one. Don't rely solely on AI to generate that
Yeah.
content, so that like every blog is kind of following the same formula. Um, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's a good use for it back to the top when we were talking
Hmm.
about a brainstorm partner, but give it those specifics.
Yeah.
This is who I am. These are
Hmm.
the details. For instance, let's think about like I don't know a lot. For some reason, I talk about bike packing all the time. Never done it. No particular interest in doing it. But let's take that topic. If I might say I'm a cyclist. I want to write a blog post about bike packing.
Hmm.
The key topics I want to cover are the bike and the gear that goes on the bike, tents, lightweight tents. Yeah, I might give it these bullet points and say, from
Hmm.
that, give me an article based, give it some specifics and guideposts that you would write about
Right.
and see if you get something there that's a starting point. And that way you've given it some of your input and personality on the way in. You get a little more detail on the way out, refine it as you need, but then take that time, like you said, to edit it and make sure it sounds like you.
Hmm. Yeah. Anything else? What did we miss?
I think that's about it. I think the last thing I want to mention is a general piece is like anything else, maybe more so, these tools are still relatively new. They're in their infancy. They're growing
Yeah.
rapidly, but they create unintended consequences. Be it in the way you present a topic that you would never have done on your own,
Hmm.
but they do tend to surprise you with the outputs and the use of them. So just be aware of that. You've worked really hard to build a business. This is not the place to relinquish control.
Hmm.
It's the place to look at these tools as what they are at the moment in time, and they're very good assistants.
Yes.
Yeah, so let them assist you.
I like that. I think leaving it on assistance is a really great place. As a company, we're embracing this in different ways, and we're never looking at it to replace a human. It's only to kind of like enhance what we do. Maybe we can produce a little bit more work, be a little bit more efficient. Yeah, assist with the things that we're already doing, but it's not
Yep.
going to replace who you are, who we are, and what you offer your customers.
Yep. And as an example, you did a fun little thing that we're going to put
I
in the show
did.
notes so that everybody can go review it and see.
Mhm.
But what did you do, and what will we be leaving down in the show notes for everybody to take a look at?
Yeah. So everything we mentioned, Mark and I did, and we did come up on that on our own. But then this morning, I just thought I would throw a question into Chat GPT just to see if I got anything different, new. So I had prompted Chat GPT with a question that was, what are good do's and don'ts for small businesses interested in leveraging AI for help with marketing?
How'd we
And I
do?
kind of, we did pretty well.
There you go. Do start. I'll give a couple. Go through and read it. We won't read all of it.
Oh God.
But by the way, we did. Your exact prompt is in there. So if somebody
Yep.
wants to try this and see what they get back, you'll
Hmm.
probably get something very, very similar as we were discussing. But
Yeah.
it came up with do's. Do start with clear goals. Enhance personalization. Focus on high impact. I mean, it's very similar to what we would have thought,
Hmm.
but there's more there. So, there could be some value
Yeah.
had we had this before we wrote the notes and did the episode.
Hmm. I liked the bonus tools to explore. You'll see kind of at the bottom. It threw that in. I was
Yeah, there
like,
you go.
okay, I didn't ask for that, but thank you very much. And we did cover that, just kind of like utilizing, email and social automation, things like that. So
So it's got MailChimp and HubSpot, which it must know you because we all use HubSpot internally. But what
yeah,
is Buffer?
I don't know. I've never heard of it. I
I'm
wonder if
gonna,
it is
I'm
like
gonna
a
look that up.
social posting, where you
Mm,
can like schedule and post all your stuff from one place, which
interesting.
we'll use HubSpot for that. But
Anyway, I hope
um,
everybody does that. I hope you take a look at that. You'll see our notes like they're always in the show notes. But then
mhm.
check out Susie's prompt. Put it in yourself if you're curious. See if you get back something very similar. I bet you will.
Yeah. Try just changing up the wording a little bit. Maybe you're I wrote small business, but maybe you can write a local bike shop, or I don't know, anything.
Yeah,
I think just play with it. See what happens. See if it can help you.
yeah, outstanding.
Cool. Well, I can't wait to hear about people experimenting more with AI, leveraging it as a tool. Uh, but thinking critically about what it spits back out at you before you just throw it somewhere.
I know.
But yeah, I guess until then, we'll see you around the work stand.